With that knowledge, I tried to partner with Kevin, saying I respect that. I respected his honesty. He didn't lead us down the garden path on what his thought process was going to be. And also he said he'd be more than happy to come back and play this year. You know, he's a pro and he likes the team.
That's Doug Armstrong trying to explain why the Blues traded one of their best players to a Stanley Cup contender who's making a run at the Stanley Cup when the Blues are still in playoff contention. The man to explain this is Mr. Hockey, host of Hockey Sense, tonight on the Big 550 KTRS.
Tonight, yes, looking forward to it. We will have full breakdown. I've got a one-on-one with Doug Armstrong that I did.
Good.
Also, we'll hear from Patrick Berglund, who recently signed a 5-year contract extension. Maybe hear from Kevin Shattenkirk. You never know.
All right, that's Andy Strickland. He's Fox Sports Midwest and here at Big 550 KTRS. Okay, explain this to me. I don't understand. I want to root for the Blues. Just teach me. They're still in playoff contention, but they traded the best player away because they weren't going to sign him for next year.
Correct. And, you know, you look at last season with their captain, David Backes, and Troy Brouwer and Brian Elliott. You know, they got a second-round pick in return for Brian Elliott. They didn't get anything in return for the other players. Now, I thought Doug Armstrong made a really good point yesterday saying it's not like we got nothing. We still went to the third round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, put millions of dollars in revenue into the pockets of the owners. So they did get something out of it. But this is a different team than what they were a year ago. They're not a top-5 team. They're not considered a strong Stanley Cup contender. They're fighting to get their way into the playoffs, so they wanted to make sure they could get assets. They got some draft picks, which you can never have enough of.
What does it signal to the fan base? Are they going to try and make a run in the playoffs? They're going to get in the playoffs, but we'll just sort of play it out. And
well, let me just say this. It's not like the Blues woke up and said, you know what, we're just going to trade one of our best players.
Right.
I mean, they had conversations with him. He didn't really want to stay here, to be honest with you. I mean, you got to really look at it for what it is. And I've been saying this for several weeks. You know, Kevin Shattenkirk has been used as a third pair of defensemen on this team. On the right side, when you look at Alex Pietrangelo and Colton Parayko, he's going to play behind those guys. Most teams in the league, he'll probably be a top 4 guy, but here he wasn't going to be. He was pretty much a power play specialist. You look at his last 10 games here in St. Louis, only one of those did he play over 20 minutes. Many of them he was playing 17 minutes. One game he played 15 minutes. The last game he played for St. Louis, he played 2 fewer minutes than Joel Edmondson. So you look at the way that he was being played and the fact of how much money he wanted. The Blues weren't going to pay him the $6.5, $7 million that he wants to be a third pair guy.
So he's not as well. How do I want to say this? They have players who will pick up the slack, and it won't be that much of a loss.
Well, no, I think it's going to be a loss on the power play. You know, Kevin Shattenkirk's a very good player. Kevin Shattenkirk is one of the more popular players to ever come through here in St. Louis.
Right.
In terms of with his teammates. He is an outstanding person. And I really mean that.
Right.
Just a great guy.
Yeah, nobody's questioning that, but you're wondering why.
You know, on the ice, is it going to really affect them? I mean, I'm watching last night's game. The Blues was trailing in the third period, trying to get back in the game, down by a goal. He would have helped them in that situation.
Yeah. All right. Andy Strickland, always good for your brilliant insights. Blues making any other moves?
They could. They've got one other unrestricted free agent, and Scotty Upshaw. We'll see what happens there. You know, one player I would pay attention to, I'm not so sure if this is actually going to happen or not, but Thomas Vanek is a player from the Detroit Red Wings who is likely to be traded. Doesn't make a ton of money. He's scored a lot of goals, and he's got a history with Mike Yeo from their days with the Minnesota Wild, so we'll see if there's anything there.
Andy Strickland, always good, buddy.
Thank you.
Tonight, 8 o'clock?
You got it.
8 o'clock, Hockey Sense on the Big 550 KTRS and at Obie Clark's right next to Altair Travel and Cruise.